Hello, everyone. Welcome to Celsius 233, your go-to place for fiction book summaries. Today, we will turn the pages of The Art of War by Sun Tzu. The Art of War, attributed to Sun Tzu, is an ancient Chinese military treatise written around the 5th century BC. It is a profound text on military strategy and tactics that has been studied for over 2 millennia. This version is translated by Lionel Giles, first published in 1910. It offers insights not only into warfare, but also into management, leadership, and strategic thinking, making it a timeless guide for both military and civilian leadership. Plot summary. In ancient China, during a time of constant warfare among the kingdoms, a master of military strategy named Sun Tzu rose to prominence. His wisdom was sought by kings and rulers who wished to conquer their enemies with the least amount of bloodshed. It was a time when strength was not only measured by the size of an army, but by the mind that commanded it. Sun Tzu, the philosopher general, understood that the art of war lay not in brute force, but in cleverness and careful planning. Sun Tzu was summoned by the king of Wu, Ho Lu, who had heard of his reputation as a brilliant strategist. To test his theories, the king challenged Sun Tzu to train a group of concubines as soldiers. Without hesitation, Sun Tzu accepted. He divided the women into 2 groups, placing one of the king's favorite concubines at the head of each. He explained the commands and what each meant, making sure they understood the difference between left and right, front and back. When he gave the first command, the women laughed, unsure whether to take the exercise seriously. Sun Tzu repeated the instructions, sternly reminding them that if the orders were clear but not followed, it was the fault of the leaders. He gave the command again, but the women laughed once more. At this, Sun Tzu called for the execution of the 2 lead concubines, explaining that if the soldiers disobey, it is the leader's failure, and punishment must follow. The king, horrified that his favorite concubines were about to be killed, protested, asking Sun Tzu to spare them. But Sun Tzu replied that once he had been entrusted with command, he could not be influenced by personal favoritism. The concubines were executed, and their replacements swiftly obeyed every order. With precision, they followed every command Sun Tzu issued. The lesson was clear. Discipline and obedience were the foundation of a successful army. Having proven his capability, Sun Tzu was appointed as the general of the army of Wu. Under his leadership, the army achieved victory after victory. Sun Tzu's brilliance lay not just in the battles themselves, but in the unseen moves that led up to them. He believed that the greatest victories were won without ever needing to engage in battle. It was better to outmaneuver the enemy, breaking their will without bloodshed, than to destroy them outright. His strategies emphasized deception, suggesting that an army should appear weak when strong, far when near, and disorderly when most prepared. Sun Tzu understood that war was not merely a clash of swords, but a contest of minds. Victory came to those who could foresee the enemy's plans and adapt their own accordingly. In his campaigns, Sun Tzu led the army of Wu against formidable opponents. The powerful state of Chu fell before his strategic brilliance. Sun Tzu conquered Wying, its capital, striking fear into the hearts of neighboring states. The other kingdoms began to whisper his name, and his reputation as an invincible general spread far and wide. Central to Sun Tzu's approach was the belief that warfare should be swift and decisive. A prolonged war drained resources, weakened the army's morale, and left a state vulnerable to other threats. The army that remains too long in the field will see its weapons grow dull, its energy fade, and its coffers empty. Thus, Sun Tzu instructed his soldiers to move like the wind, quick and unrelenting, and to strike where the enemy was least prepared. In battle, surprise was the greatest weapon, and victory often came from attacking the enemy's weak points. He taught that a general must adapt to the shifting circumstances of the battlefield. Just as water shapes itself to the ground, flowing around obstacles and filling gaps, so must a general shape his strategy according to the enemy's movements and the terrain. If the enemy was well prepared, it was better to avoid direct confrontation. If the enemy was arrogant or disorganized, it was time to strike with full force. Above all, the general must keep his own plans hidden from the enemy, only revealing his strength at the moment of decisive victory. Sun Tzu also placed great emphasis on the role of intelligence in warfare. A general must know his enemy as well as he knows himself. Spies were essential to his strategy, for it was through their reports that Sun Tzu gained insight into the enemy's plans, weaknesses, and strengths. He employed local informants, enemy defectors, and even the enemy's own spies, turning them into double agents. With their help, Sun Tzu could shape the battlefield to his advantage, before the enemy even realized the true nature of the conflict. Sun Tzu's wisdom extended beyond the battlefield. He advised rulers on the importance of moral authority, showing how a ruler who gained the loyalty and trust of his people could inspire them to follow him into any danger. A good general was not merely a commander, but a caretaker of his soldiers, treating them with both strict discipline and deep compassion. Soldiers who felt cared for would fight with greater ferocity, willing to lay down their lives for the general who had earned their loyalty. In the end, Sun Tzu's lessons were not just about war, but about the nature of conflict itself. Whether on the battlefield or in the halls of power, victory went to those who could see beyond the immediate and who could understand the larger forces at play. Sun Tzu's strategies echoed through the ages, teaching that war, like life, was a delicate balance of strength and wisdom, force and deception, loyalty and strategy. In every situation, success came to those who could master these forces and bend them to their will. That's a wrap, but the journey doesn't end. Explore more books by Sun Tzu. You'll find the details in the description or on Celsius 233. Remember, while our summaries capture the essence, they can never replace the full experience of reading the book. If this summary intrigued you, consider diving into the complete story, buy the book, and immerse yourself in Sun Tzu's original work. Bye-bye, take care, have fun.